Hello, 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 and welcome to Three Amigos, Ink and Splatter, Poetic Beats Alive. I'm your host, Marie Moldovan, and I hope you are having a wonderful evening or day, whichever time it may be for you. It's evening for me, and it is a rainy day in the middle of April. Last year, about this time, snow was melted in my location, but this year we still have a fair amount of snow. It is currently raining, and we have chances of flurries. Very, very, very interesting weather, but it is what it is. I spent my entire winter hibernating like a bear and have learned that in my new location, hibernating during the winter season is the best way to go. But I am most definitely looking forward to the sun shining and getting outside and pounding the pavement, walking my dogs, having lots of fun. You know, those kind of things that you do when the sun is out and the snow is melted and you could probably swim in a lake and you wouldn't freeze. Though where I'm from, Canada, we do sometimes do things like polar dip, which is kind of crazy, you know. It's a sport in itself, and I suggest you Google it if you want more information. Anyways, thank you for tuning in this evening. I'm going to provide you with a fulfilling evening of poetry. I'm going to read some poems from our group, Three Amigos, Ink and Splatter. Basically, poetry that was submitted to our poetry prompts. What we do is we put up some prompts and we ask our writers and our group members to submit some writing, whether it be poetry or short story or flash fiction, you know, that kind of thing. And occasionally we even invite artists to submit a piece of art because we are a diverse group and we like to encourage all aspects of art because you know what? Art is very healing. Expression is healing. We have had enough, too many generations of individuals suppressing their feelings and, you know, sucking it up and trucking on and keeping on keeping on. I mean, that mentality is great in the moment if you really just like you need to get up and go. But the whole movement of children are to be seen and not heard and so on and so forth like that, where you suppress your emotions, is a movement of the past and a movement of the past. So, you know, I'm a big on encouraging vocalization. Excuse me, it seems my dogs want to speak too. Yes, they had their moments in the sun. I'm really big on encouraging expression of emotions because when you're able to release your emotion in a form of writing or art, you are able to help. And there we go. My dogs want to speak again. Yes, they have to give their opinions too. Are you boys done? You done? Who are you talking to? Yeah? You talking? Anyways, like I was saying, expressing your emotion through writing and art is powerful. It helps release a lot of pent up aggression. It helps with the healing process. Sometimes, you know, what you do put on paper can be ugly, especially if you're going through a breakup or a traumatic experience or heartache or whatever it is. It can be ugly at first and eventually, you know, turns into something differently, but at least you have the capacity through writing and art to put it out there, release it, and unblock it. When you keep it in within you, you make yourself sick. I mean, it is a proven fact. There are many studies out there. When you keep in your emotion, when you suppress it, when you try to hold it back, suck it up, you actually cause yourself more trauma, more pain, and it can lead to illness. So, like I said, I'm going to read some of the poetry, actually all of the poetry that was submitted to the prompts this week. And if we have time, I'm going to go and read a few poems from one of our anthologies, Three Amigos, Ink and Splatter, The Lonely Soul in the Darkness, probably from Volume 1, Issue 1. We do have 5 issues for that volume. And each issue basically touches on different aspects. Like issue 1 talks about the journey where one's life seems shattered. Volume 2 talks about the journey where one's life seems hopeless. That's volume 1, issue 2. Issue 3 focuses on the dark night of the soul. Issue 4 focuses on the feeling and literal aspect of being outcasted, like the island of isolation. And volume 1, issue 5, which is the last issue of that series, the Lonely Soul in the Darkness series. It basically focuses on being on the feelings of being isolated, broken, and lost. I feel that this is a powerful series that our group produced, and it basically focuses on mental health. The entire volume, like volume 1, issues 1 through 5, focuses on mental health, and it does touch on the dark side and some of the light side of mental health. When you're traumatized, there's it talks about trauma, it talks about various different aspects, and feeling isolated from society, and so on and so forth. And I feel that it is a very complete series. And if you have a chance, I suggest going to Amazon, picking up a copy. Each issue features artists and poets from all over the world, and it is quite a diverse collection. It has poetry, short stories, arts, and meditation. So like I said, if we have some time towards the end of the podcast, I will read some poetry from the volume 1, issue 1 of the Three Amigos Ink and Splatter, Lonely Soul in the Darkness book. Now we'll get on to the prompts. So the first prompt that I will be reading from today is titled Riddle Me This. I asked group members to write a poem or a short story sparked by this statement. All right. I hope everyone is all right. Not that being wrong ain't right eventually. If you learn the lesson in stepping left, but what is the lesson in stepping left? And is it one must learn? Also, is this step truly wrong, or is it a step off a path to learn your life's flow? Now, I felt that was an interesting prompt to put up. And of course, the statement was written by me because I've got quite the interesting mind. The first submission that we got to this prompt is by Maria Rivett. Now, Maria is a fabulous writer. Her poetry is amazing, and I did get a chance to look over this poem, and I quite enjoyed it. It provides a powerful message, and I think that once I read it, you'll understand. I mean, the message is clear, and the poem is quite uplifting. You don't have to be strong all of the time. You don't have to hide behind closed doors. You don't have to hide the pain in your eyes with a smile. You don't have to pretend that everything is fine. You don't have to please everyone else. You don't need to feel pressured into being someone you're not. You don't need to settle for less than you deserve. You're a beautiful person, and one day you will know your worth. If you need help, just send a text or pick up the phone. Please know you're not on your own. You have a friend here. We are in this together. A problem halved makes things a little better. You're not alone. And that is very true. I find it most interesting how in the darkest moments of one's life, it seems that a stranger is always there to help you the most. But you're never really alone. There's always someone there. If you just reach out, don't give up. Reach out. Talk to someone. You will always find that if you reach out, someone will respond. The next poem to the Riddle Me This prompt is by Stuart Dann, and he titled his poem, Time's Shadow. Long had I avoided the shadows of love's bitterness of the broken heart, that we all despise, memories or desperation within, thoughts that were just that. A love for life, the unknowing of sadness hates, and the unwanted necessities that hollow emptiness within, what seems complete darkness when those times we unexpectedly encounter. How shallow the deepest ocean seems when you cry, tears to fill 1,000 seas never seem to make their depth change. Why? Because time is not forgiving and never lasts. It is a thief that also slyly slinks into the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to release its own hate with the vengeance of all hell. To tear and disrupt all that should stay and seem perfect for always. I was one of its victims. I was so happy until I stepped near the darkness and it stepped out of its hateful and spiteful hiding place. That shadow that I never dreamt was there. My life was not perfect. No one's is, but it suited me and those who belonged to me. Then time took what was dearest to me with no remorse. Time's shadow now elsewhere waiting for others to deceive. My life seemingly ruined, everything's planned, burnt, everything planned, burnt once more, hell's torturous fire. Wandering myself lost in a world where all I wanted was obliteration, with remnants of who and what I once was. To then stumble across reasonings and strength, to douse hell's fire, to shine the brightest light on the shadows that time tries to hide within. I am a worthy opponent, now with the foresight to try and battle, though time will always win. It always has done. I fight now to last as long as I can to hold it back, until I lose and another adversary takes my place. My future now is not as bright as it once was, but I will not let go down without fighting. Life is better than it has been and will improve for a moment. I am winning. Now, that poem by Stuart, it has it is basically layered with a lot of information, a lot of emotive scenery, and it is a brilliant piece. And I'm glad that Stuart took the time to submit to the prompt, and I'm delighted that I had the capacity, the ability, and the honor to read it this evening. The next poem submitted to the Riddle Me This prompt is by Robin Neibergall. Robin Neibergall. I lived through hell, yet found a way out through strength, and fight no home from my plight. Just a child when I ran, but I survived where others have passed. I changed my generational curse that broke so many souls. I now have the scars, but unable to reach for the stars. Have a family that has changed, some of us still deranged, but see the hopes and dreams of the next generation with the love that they share. The future looks so much better than the past, that one we lost. I hope you see and are proud of me. The next generation will learn more from them, as I still do. I owe my children respect and love, and they give so freely. My grandchildren will never suffer, nor my children. My future keeps getting brighter. May the love keep growing and the curse be damned, not the person who at the young age I didn't understand. They repeated what they learned. Forgiven, not forgiven, with the prayers for grace. Not exactly sure what all they had to face. Do not need to go to that place to see the face that of what the hate did do to them. No need to hate and put it in their face. That is a brilliant message, Robin. Once again, that is a poem by Robin Neibergall, and it is a brilliant piece. She basically talks about breaking a generational curse and having faced things that her children and her grandchildren will not face. And I think that is a reality for a lot of us. I myself experienced many things, and my ancestors have experienced many things that my children will never have to face. But at the same time, there are still things that are occurring in these times that have gone from one generation to the next generation. And I would say there are improvements, but we still have a long way to go. Okay, now we'll move on to the next prompt. The next prompt that I will be reading from is, "Trust me, fear is a liar," said the spider to the fly. "Is fear really a liar, or just spinning me in your poison? Is fear really a liar, or are you spinning me in your poison?" questioned the fly. "It doesn't matter either way, 'cause you're already strung up. Your chance at life left the minute you landed in my web," cackled the spider. So basically, I, wrote a little banter between a spider and a fly, and then I asked our group members from Three Amigos and Splatter to submit some of their pieces. And we did get a delightful number of submissions. The first one that I will be reading is by Giulio Magrini. And he starts off with, "What fear? I have my past upbringing as a Catholic victim as motivation." So basically, he's giving us a little bit of an introduction that he has a past upbringing as a Catholic victim as motivation. This is almost isn't fear, no penance for masturbators. The forgiveness of God plunges wrinkled hands through the confessional, screams, "I'm a dirty little boy," stares at my folded hands as I receive the body and the blood of Christ, imagines alternatives for their placement. Observe the commotion of the methodical procession and concentrated parade of lumpy, calloused knees as they march in obedience to the infinite calling of the celebrant. And the darkened winged angel cavets in his madness to visit the high traitors of clergy, attends this snarling colored evil inconstant satin and lace, inconstant satin and lace, embroidered white on white, and the Hillary of extreme eunuchdom, past a way station of marble altar and chalices of gold. We are told that it is the charge of a shepherd to detail the passage of eternity. Though all is immediately forgotten when distracted by a hearsay with nuts, Though all is immediately forgotten when distracted by Hershey's with nuts being a boy's zipper. What is the remedy taught in liturgy for the wretched little soul? The God that accepts my contribution is a basement God, telling priest, rabbi, and minster jokes. Ordinary mortals know that impure thoughts and actions do not equal fondling hairless genitalia, cloaked under vestments and a homily post-commodus afterwards. I want quantifiable, not spiritual reparation. I need to be a voyeur and witness when the cleric furrowed concerned brow gradually smolders and rots through the perfume of incense burning on foreskin. I need to be authentic, compassionate smiles grinning to maggots and regulate the tormented of the benevolent clergy. My charge more complete than the custody of my mortal soul. Amen. I probably should have read this first so that I could give a trigger warning, but this piece basically talks about a reality that occurs a lot of times when, and where it basically depicts the wrongdoings to various children by priests. I mean, we look to our churches, for salvation and teachings of God and so on and so forth. But so many people have been violated by individuals of power in religion. And this piece basically hits the nail on the head and blatantly speaks of such cases. The next poem is by Dave Eisenberger. It is titled Caught in a Web. Caught in a web of intrigue, spun in devious ways, where no escape is possible, spending now my final days. How then was this possible, blinded by promises and lust, easy for the pickings here indeed, so much for the future of us? So I'm crying futility and despair. It was all a lie here instead. As I view my demise in horror, please save me, I'm caught in a web. That was a beautiful piece by Dave Eisenberger. And the next poem for the prompt is by Ruth Doyle, titled Spider Talk. What a tangled web you made to catch me in a charade. Here I am, humbly fly, leading quite the life. Then you come alone and cause me so much strife. But I won't pander to your evil deed, 'cause I, this fly, will succeed. I am going to pasture new, where even spiders have no clue. That is a lovely little piece by Ruth Doyle. Ruth's poetry is quite uplifting most of the time. It is a relief, oftentimes, from some of the dark poetry. The next submission to the Trust Me, Fear is a Liar, said the spider to the fly, is by Emma Hilson-Gregory, titled A Spider Life. What a life is the life of a spider, so short, so misunderstood. The master weaver, as he spins his delicate web, when along came Mr. Fly to disturb his peaceful day. Why are you here walking on my web? Said the spider to the fly. Why, I was out flying around. I needed to rest and saw your web, but I never realized that the place I took to rest would cause me such fear, such strife. I wiggle and fight and try to take flight, but my plight is sealed, so I sit and cry in the realization that my struggle is futile and that my fate set in stone, as I moan to have no clue, for the spider has sealed my tomb. That is a beautiful piece. Thank you very much, Emma, for your submission, and I hope everybody enjoyed that. But it is a dark little fairy tale indeed, where the spider or the fly basically stops to take a rest on a web, which becomes his point of eternal rest. Spider webs are quite interesting, and there are some studies that basically indicate that the web reaches out to grab you, like almost like electricity. The next poem to this prompt that was submitted to this prompt is by Stuart, Dann, and it's titled Fear. Within fear there lies true deceit. We try to conquer it when we can. We have to, or it festers and rots like a disease or a carcass of some unfortunate animal. The flies of life feeding upon its putrid remnants, spreading the contamination to the vultures that then choose to gather so then they can feast themselves. Fear's victim, unable to deal with the onslaught, so decides to recede somewhere quiet, but fear then will multiply. The best place fear knows where it will remain secure, inside the cave within its victim's mind. Fear has no consequence, it does not care. It is itself happy. It is a torturous plague infecting anyone that allows it to, an abomination of invisible thought processing to an unweary mind. The weaker the mind, the better, the more control and the power it will gain. Until it takes over, it will pick up on any tiny detail with an adhesion. It is a demon with untold strength that can control its host's inability to stop it, until there is nothing left to show that it ever existed or ever dwelt. To where now there lies just dust of what or who someone was. It has to be faced and forced with forged strength. It has to be defeated no matter what or how hard that may seem. For if fear wins, its chaos can and will be felt by all it surrounds or consumes. For fear has unpredictability on its own side. For fear has unpredictability on its side. Defeat it if and when you can, then it will always be weak and brittle, should it try to force itself upon you again. That is a delightful piece by Stuart. I basically get the impression that fear is pretty much a vile, disgusting beast, a demon with massive eyes, peering at you in the darkness, trying to terrify, the living being out of you when I read this poem. But the reality is, fear, yes, it can be incapacitating and extreme, and has been the main focus, I think, in our society. Is like basically our society is run by pushing fear onto people, making people afraid and as a way to conform or cause us to imprison ourselves in our little white picket fences type of thing for our own good. Now, on the extreme, fear used in an extreme, fear is debilitating. But I would be curious to see a world without fear. If there was absolutely no fear, I mean, isn't everything in a balance somewhat healthy? Our animal self has fear of our predators for a reason. We know that a bigger animal can devour us, right? Or do we really? I don't know. Maybe that's just a load of hogwash coming out of my mouth. Maybe it's just a load of hogwash. But anyways, is not everything in balance purposeful? Of course, in an extreme sense, it is debilitating, but in a balance, is it not healthy? I mean, is not a little bit of fear healthy? Is a little bit of fear healthy, or is it not? What would life be like if we didn't have fear? That's the question. We might have people jumping off of cliffs because they're afraid of absolutely nothing. They're fearless. Might be a catastrophe, right? So maybe just a wee bit of fear is healthy, but not the way that we run our world to the point where we are ruling it with fear. Who's to say? Who's to say? Who's to say? Who's to say? Let's move on to the next prompt. I think we have one, maybe two more. Okay, so the next one that I had our group members submit to is, what is the best way for a fish to remain off the hook of a narcissistic fisher? No contact or no response. Then I basically said, in this scenario, no contact means the person has blocked, which minimizes chances of direct contact. And no response means an individual can still contact, but you ain't responding. And basically, in my opinion, if you place no contact, that means that you remove all possibility. Well, you remove most possibilities, because you can't completely remove possibility of somebody contacting you if they really want to, especially if the person is operating from a narcissistic state of mind. And I mean, most people get to that point if they, are extremely traumatized and damaged and are operating from a traumatized state of view. I don't really like to point the fingers at, because usually we all basically, in order to recognize that we all have a little bit of narcissism within ourselves. I mean, everything, if you believe in the concept above, below, within, without, that means that everything that is outside you is within you. And so everything that you are looking at and complaining about is also an aspect of yourself in a healthy balance. Of course, it becomes a problem when it is on the extreme side, and that often is the case when there has been a lot of trauma. And a lot of people would say that some people that have grown up to be very narcissistic may have grown up in a picture perfect environment, but who's to say that is really the truth? Because realistically, when I grew up, what we consider a normal discipline is now considered abuse. So what is a true picture perfect environment? Yes. So the first poem that was submitted to this prompt is by Michelle Fernane. And I'm just gonna gather it. Actually, yeah, the first poem is by Michelle Fernane, and she wrote, "Block the narcissistic fisherman. This female is no longer taking the bait. This mermaid will sing her own song, will no longer long or mourn over the princes who still see reflections of themselves in shallow waters." That is a very, I like this piece. Basically, she's like, yep, I'm just going to block that person and be like, nope, I am no longer taking any interest or giving you any more time to contact me. I ain't wasting no more time on individuals who can only look at the surface of the water. And that's a good move, because, when you go with the no contact route over the blocking route, like when you go the no response route, the no response means that they still have access. They still have the capacity to text you or contact you on social media and so on and so forth. Like, you can still see what they're saying and they're doing. And so, but you're not responding. And they're hoping on that. Like, an individual who is on the extreme end of the narcissistic scale is hoping that you will read what they're writing and they will be able to come across your radar so they can wear you down and work their way back in, and they try various different tactics. First they might get mad, or they might try and sweet talk you, and they use various different tactics that just wear you down. And then you end up breaking and contacting them. And the minute you say something, they win. They got you. Okay, so the next poem that was submitted this prompt is by Stuart, Dann, called Wisher Fish. A narcissistic fisherman will try and bait his targeted fish while... Okay, I'm going to start that again. Sorry, Stuart. A narcissistic fisherman will try and bait his targeted fish, will bite upon. An intelligent or wise fish would not take the bait. The narcissistic becomes infuriated at no response, something he would certainly dislike and hate. They wish will know that she is winning. She should continue to remain still and silent, wait for the narcissistic session to pass. He will not be happy and displeased, so he will vent. Now, if the fish is not very wise or wary, she will strike at anything that will flash. The narcissistic fisherman shall indeed catch her without any other fisherman's black backlash. Our beautiful fish is too precious to her Our beautiful fish is too precious to her shoal members. Who will see what the narcissistic fisherman is trying to do? She should seek a little shelter in their middle. That is the ex-fisherman's point of view. Now our fish may take this fisherman is wrong, that he does not see, because this fish is out of sight. I thought this fish is definitely a fighter. I think, though, this fish is definitely a fighter, for she is a wiser fish who will hopefully do what only she knows is right. I think that that is fair advice. It is a solid advice within this poem. It is layered with a lot of advice. A smart, a smart fish would be like, yeah, nope, I see what you're doing, dude. But that's not necessarily true. Sometimes we are inexperienced in life because, sometimes if you can be extremely intelligent but have not come across this, or are possibly living in the shadows of doubt. Sometimes something looks one way but it is another, so even a smart person can be fooled. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens. But a lot of times, if a smart person is fooled, it's because they are looking at it from within the layers of perspective, because something, everybody it's not a one size fits all scenario with a lot of things in life. It could look one way, but there are multiple layers to something. And if you just basically go with this shallow, one size fits all blanket statement, you could be missing out on a lot of things. But that is something that you have to determine for yourself if you want to go down that road or not. Sometimes that road is challenging, and sometimes it is not worth it. But never ever put yourself in a position where you're going to be abused by another person who's going to take advantage of you, because you are definitely worth a lot. And everybody deserves a chance, but not everybody deserves a chance with you. And you only have so much energy in a day, and you should spend it doing what you like. Balshaw. Don't have to spend it on everybody, If you have the capacity to get through the day, so does somebody else, We all can do what we need to do for ourselves, the bare minimum, the basics, and do things in a balance. A lot of people sometimes think that, okay, somebody is better off than them, so they should help them, but that doesn't mean that they have to leech off or take advantage of that person, because it's basically that scenario where the grass looks greener on the other side, but it isn't necessarily. It just means that that person might have a better front. I think I might have said something that, whatever. The next submission to this prompt is by Ruth Doyle, and it's titled Vacant Friends. I've been on Facebook for quite a time. You would think have committed a crime. Seems like I have. Quite a shock for people who have ignored. Think is a block. What did I do for contact nil? Maybe sit and take a pill, but I don't care for a fake friend. The best ones be there until the end, which is true. Sometimes in this world, we judge, you get that. Okay, so if somebody hasn't responded to you right away, they're really not interested. Not all the time. It's like maybe somebody is interested, but they are overloaded with a lot of things. It's like what they're currently doing, they don't have the capacity to respond to the needs that you're in the manner that you're demanding. But that doesn't mean that they don't care, or they're not there for you, or they don't want to be a part of your life. It just means that they may not have the capacity at that moment in time to be able to respond to your needs and demands at the rate that you're asking. And is it necessarily fair for you to be asking them to respond to your needs this way and then getting angry by it? There's various different scenarios. And sometimes it is that they're not interested in you. And sometimes it is that they just have a full plate. You can't just look at something and view it and think that it's, oh, yeah, this person is not talking to me right now. Block, done, just whatever. They don't care about me. They're not concerned. It's not necessarily true. You have to consider their state of mind and where they're coming from, like what's going on with them. Are they overwhelmed and busy? How is their state of mind? So on and so forth. I mean, we live in a world that is populated with, everybody in this world is traumatized. We're all traumatized. We're a generation of traumatized individuals existing on this planet. We have, there's things called intergenerational and generational trauma. So we have taken on and are embodying the trauma of our ancestors and carrying it within our blood. We've, witnessed many wars, trauma. A lot of us have witnessed various different violations to humanity, and our world is in a shamble. And recently we experienced a global pandemic. Our world is traumatized. We all have mental health issues on one level or another, and we just keep piling it on and moving forward, and don't seems to have a lot of resources out there to assist. That is slowly coming about, but it is a slow thing. And so a lot of individuals in our world have a lot of problems. I mean, most people are having difficulty making ends meet. We have a majority of the population in urban settings that are living well beyond their means. Their bank owns everything, and they're like basically one paycheck away from losing everything. It is the reality. And that's unfortunate. And we have worked ourselves into this, and it seems to be more of a divide rather than a collaboration. But it is really hard to get us to the point of collaboration because we have lost trust. And trust takes time and patience. And it takes, a lot of self-care and a lot of a lot of healing within ourselves, and focusing on our mental health and self-care, and, dialing back and not trying to, it's not really trying to save the world, but working on yourself and improving working on your trauma, working on the things that got you to the point that you're at, and understanding that the perfect we have been conditioned to believe in is toxic. What is perfect anyways? Do we need the mansion and the picket fence and the picture perfect lifestyle? Is that really what's important? Our media portrays and basically feeds us a scenario where you have to look a certain way to be beautiful. We don't even know what beauty is anymore. We look to the media, we look to magazines, we look to fashion moguls, and we take their opinion as gospel on what beauty is, and we make ourselves sick and so on and so forth, trying to match up with a conditioned and toxic version of what beauty is. Anyways, I kind of got sidetracked here. The next submission, the final submission to the prompt of what is the best way for a fish to remain off the hook of a narcissistic fisher, is by Giulio Magrini. He tells me that he was never very good at following assignments, but I think he does quite well. Maybe a lot of us are not very good at following assignments according to the way a teacher would like them to be done. But because, I mean, I myself growing up have found that you would get an assignment from a teacher and you would do it, and the teacher would be like, no, 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 that's not what I meant. And you're like, yes, but I answered it correctly. I just didn't answer it the way you wanted me to answer it. So where maybe Giulio, me and you are not really good at following assignments according to the conformity of the mind of our teacher. My dad used to tell me all the time, find out what the teacher wants, learn how they think, and then give them what they want. Because I would often do an assignment, and then I would have my mother have to fight for me because I didn't do it wrong. I just didn't do it that teacher's way. And so then my dad told me, yeah, figure out, study your teacher, figure out what he or she wants, and, feed them their own bullshit. And when I started doing that, my grades improved wonderfully. Yay. Anyways, to my hungry dog eating fishy. Be still, my love, and be patient. Hound hash is best served well done. Sprinkled gently and floating upon the water's edge, you float grinning to the top of a bowl, your fins fluttering seductively for the pooch Thanksgiving. The dark meat and the white meat are all the same confetti sprinkle, as the fishies scamper for water and comfort within parameters of their aquatic world of non-cave kinnim. That is an interesting piece by Giulio. To my hungry dog eating fishy. I really liked it. I think it definitely fits within the prompt confines. Not that the prompt is confined, because I definitely say within the box and outside the box definitely work. It's not a one size fits all. It's what you're inspired to write. And so the last prompt that I have that I will be reading from, and I think I have one or two submissions to this one, is Legs Like Spaghetti. This one actually is requesting some of our members to contribute and send an email if they would like to contribute to our anthology, because we have an anthology that is calling for contributions right now, titled I Am Ketchup. And so I put this prompt up to encourage people to submit to it. It's kind of like giving them an idea of what this I Am Ketchup anthology is about. Anyways, the prompt is that a few individuals submitted to and have the capacities to submit to the I Am Ketchup anthology is Legs Like Spaghetti. So the first poem to this prompt that was submitted is by Ruth Doyle, and it goes like this. Legs like spaghetti. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I am pasta. It's my legs just don't work. Every time I try and walk, all I do is twirl around and round. Also got a penchant for tomatoes. Can't say ever liked them before. Maybe parents' fault. They named me lasagna when my whole body turned to pasta. So if you don't know what's going on, if you don't know what's going to become of me. That's a cute poem. Thank you, Ruth. And the next submission to this prompt is by Stuart Dann. He told me that he can't find the chicken one because I had a chicken prompt up, but I took it down. So just give me a minute. Because I didn't have anybody actually submit to it, so I took it down. Okay, so the poem goes like this. Pasta legs. I remember that hot and sunny summer day when we walked the boulevard to the jetty. You knelt upon a knee and asked me to marry you. I said yes. Then my legs felt like spaghetti in your parents' lounge when we told them I was so scared I had to sit upon their settee. Your dad said no, and I didn't know he was joking. Again, in shock, my legs felt like spaghetti. When they were finally married, I was wobbly, so you had to carry me through all the confetti. I could not control my straight walking, as my legs again felt like spaghetti. That night upon our honeymoon, when we were going to bed, I got all sweaty. I was nervous about what we could do. You had to carry me upstairs as my legs felt like spaghetti. When I gave birth to our daughter, she was beautiful. We called her Betty. I don't know if we should have any more because that makes me feel like spaghetti. This is our wonderful life story to all. It may seem a little petty. I cannot help who I am, though, just because my legs feel like spaghetti. That's a good write. And I think that is it's a wonderful piece for that concludes this prompt section. And it doesn't look like I'm actually going to have any time to read anything out of the anthology. Maybe one piece, because I don't want to go over the hour's time. Okay, actually, I will read one short piece from the anthology. If I can find one. That is the word. Yes. Okay. So I will read a piece from Three Amigos, Ink and Splatter, Lonely Soul in the Darkness, Volume 1, Issue 1, titled Full Metal Jacket. And this is by Marie Moldovan, that's me, and Matt Cummings. It is a collaborative piece. Head spinning in 1,000 directions, heart shattering the shield of my chest wall, pounding in 1,000,000 miles a minute. Clenched hands ticking faster than the second of a clock. Tick, tock, boom. Terrified of the emotional trigger pulled, I fall to my knees, craving comfort from the ground below me. Huddled in a fetal position, I beg for the firing squad to stop. Spinning like an oversized kamikaze wobbly world, cobbled streets laid out like my broken body. The sweet zigzagging of questionable choices. Both ways do I decide to go. Bittersweet misery will always welcome me. Lights flashing, people watching, pointing, and laughing. Minefield I could escape from. An angry mother cracks my jaw with the cold edge of a book, like a point-blank gunshot. Spits vile obscenities upon the zigzag stone, holding me from sinking into the unknown, and pierces my heart with disgust. Full Metal Jacket. As I cower in fear. Tears fell upon me, like I am a bloody martyr, echoing as I have fallen into the well of silent pain, being ignored for being myself, self-defeating. I wonder why I must endure this pain, this sorrow, and always be the one to fill the rivers with my tears as I walk the path of forgiveness. Once again, that's a poem titled Full Metal Jacket by Marie Moldovan and Matt Cummings. It is a collaboration, and it is actually the opening poem to Volume 1, Issue 1 of the Three Amigos, Ink and Splatter, Lonely Soul in the Darkness anthology. And I would like to say thank you for joining me this evening, and I hope you enjoyed the selection of poems that we read. And I think I might have, I don't know, kind of got off topic a few times here and there. So, oh well, hopefully I didn't kind of lose you with my, banter, because I can sometimes get on a tangent and even lose my train of thought. It's kind of interesting. But once again, I would like to say thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you join us next week for our live podcast. We are going to have an open mic night, and hopefully at the end read some more of our prompts from the week. Until then, I guess I would like to say bye-bye and bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Mwah.